Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Foot Forecast, and today's video I'm going to be going through my ranking for every Premier League winger, and my tiers are top draw, quality, does the job, needs more, and champ, just a championship player who I don't think is good enough for the Premier League right now. And how this will work, because this will be based off the quality of the player, not just this season. If I think this player's had just a one-off season, then I won't just judge him like that. For example, I think if he had a terrible season, I'm not going to put him in need more champ if I think he's actually a good player. If he's had a really good season, but I don't think he's as good, I'm not just going to put him in top draw or quality blindly. So starting off with Chelsea's players, and the first one is Cole Palmer. This is an example of a player where you're looking at him and you're saying, this season he's probably in a champ or a need more, but we know he's way better than what he's shown so far this season. He is at least a quality player, is Cole Palmer, and he's a player that comes up in big moments. I think he's been playing through injury so far this season. It's been a very frustrating season for Palmer. I'm straight away putting him in top quality. He's a world-class player, is Cole Palmer. Then we're on to the next player, which is Pedro Neto. And I think Pedro Neto is just bang average. And for that reason, I'm going to put him in does the job. He can contribute at times, but he's never consistent. And he only offers a bit as a winger. Then we've got the next player, which is Esteval. I really like Esteval. And he needs to be getting more minutes than he's currently getting right now. Because I think he's Chelsea's second best winger below Cole Palmer. And sometimes Cole Palmer plays in the team, so he's often Chelsea's best winger, and Esteval should have played more this season in the Premier League, but I'm still going to put him in quality because I think Esteval is a quality Premier League winger. So then we've got the next player, which is Gittins. I'm straight away putting Gittins in need more. I really don't rate Byro Gittins. I haven't seen a lot from him so far. That makes me think that Chelsea should have spent upwards of sort of £50 million on a player like this. I don't think he's actually good enough to start for Chelsea, and that's very similar to Alejandro Garnacho. I think for Garnacho, I'm going to put him in that does the job. He's a very frustrating player, but I think he still offers more than a player like Gittins. But my main issue with Chelsea is they spent £100 million on Gittins and Garnacho, and you could have bought a way better player, but also a winger with a better attitude, which has been a problem for Garnacho at Man United, and also seems to be a problem at Chelsea. He never seems to track back and help out the team. They also spent £60 million on Neto. So they've spent £160 million on three players, and none of them have gone into quality or top draw. Then we're on to the next club, which is Burnley. And the first player I'm going to discuss is Bruno Larson. I'm straight away going to put him in champ. He is just a champ player. We've seen this in the past. He's not good enough to make the step up. The next one's Marcus Edwards. He hasn't been good enough so far this season. I think he's a better player than he's shown, but I still think, based off what we've seen, we've got to put him in champ. Then we've got Andoni. Unfortunately, he's been out because of an ACL injury this season, but as we've seen in the past, he is just a championship player. And finally, we've got Jadon Anthony. I'm going to put Jadon Anthony in needs more. He's not a does-the-job Premier League player, but he's not been terrible so far this season. I think he's shown he can play in the Premier League, can Jadon Anthony. So then we're on to the next club, which is Fulham, and we're starting off with Chukwueze. I'm going to put him in does the job. I think that sums up Chukwueze, a decent Premier League winger. I think that's fair for a player like Chukwueze. Then we've got Harry Wilson, who's had an outstanding season so far, and if it was based off this season, there's an argument even for potentially top draw, because it's not. I'm either thinking does the job or quality. He's had a standout year though, so I'm going to put him in sort of lower end of quality. But I think we may see with a player like Harry Wilson, he may go back to being sort of just the does the job winger next season, because I think that's more his level. But I still think you have to reward him with quality because he's had such a good year, and it would be unfair not to give him that. Then we've got the next player, which is Kevin. I'm going to put Kevin in need more. I think there's some promising signs from the Brazilian winger at Fulham so far, but I think that is fair for Kevin. Then we've got Oscar Bob at Fulham. I'm going to put Oscar Bob in does the job. I don't think he's been a standout player for Fulham so far, but he's only played about 5 games, and I think the talent is there, and I think he is a good winger, and I think it's a great pickup actually from Fulham, so I think does the job is fair. And then we've got Smith Rowe. Unfortunately, I'm going to take injuries into account for this, and for that, he is going to go and need more. He simply just can't stay fit, and that's resulted in him not playing enough minutes for Fulham and not showing the potential that I think Smith Rowe does have. So I think need more is fair for Smith Rowe. Then we're moving on to West Ham, and I've got Adama Traore and put him in champ. I just think he's a champ winger, is Adama Traore. I don't think he's really good enough for the Premier League right now. So then we've got the next player, which is Jarrod Bowen, and he's going straight in quality. A player that's been so loyal to West Ham, and he's been really good for West Ham for the last 4 or 5 years. He was a crucial reason why they won the Europa Conference League, scoring the winning goal in that game. And he's been a crucial reason why they've been able to survive in the Premier League. And if they stay up once again, he's going to be crucial. I would like to see Jarrod Bowen move on because I think he's a player that could play at a higher level than a side like West Ham. Then we've got the next player, which is Cristante Somerville. I'm going to put Somerville in does the job. He's been really good in the last sort of 8 games, but the problem with Somerville is consistency. He often goes through spells where he looked great for 10 games, but the next 10 games, 15 games, he can struggle. So I think does the job is fair for him. When he's out of form, you're either looking at a need more or a champ player, but when he's in form, you're probably looking at a quality player. So I think for now, does the job is fair for Somerville. If you could be consistent, then we are looking at definitely at a quality winger, because he's a very dangerous player, and we've seen recently he can finish well. Then we've got Anthony Gordon at Newcastle. He's struggled, I think, in the last year and a half to really show his full potential, but I'm still going to put Gordon in quality. I still think Anthony Gordon is a quality winger, and I think he has shown this in parts, but maybe not consistently. But before this, he was showing this. In the 23-24 season, Gordon was absolutely electric down that left wing for Newcastle United, and I really like Gordon as a player, and I think quality is fair for Gordon. Then we've got Harvey Barnes. I'm going to put Barnes and does the job. I think this really sums up Harvey Barnes. He's just a decent Premier League winger. I don't see him being any worse than this, but I also don't see him being any better than this. So then we're on to the next player, which is Elanga. I'm going to put Elanga and does the job. Look, based off this season, you're looking at a need more player at the minimum because he's been awful so far this season for Newcastle. But there is still a good player in Anthony Elanga, and I think does the job is fair. He showed that at Forest last season, and I think he is better than what he's shown at Newcastle this season. I think in a counter-attacking system like a Forest, he can really excel. Then we've got the next player, which is Jacob Murphy. Once again, Murphy is going in, does the job. Just a decent Premier League winger is Jacob Murphy. Nothing better, but nothing worse. And I think this is Newcastle's problem. They've only got one sort of quality winger, and this could be debated right now because his form's not very good. And Newcastle need to be aiming to signing players in the sort of quality or top draw range to really push into sort of higher positions in the league and sort of aspire to win trophies like the owners will want to do. Then we're on to the next club, which is Everton, and we've got Iliman and Jai. I'm putting in Jai in quality. I really like Iliman and Jai. I think he's a top player and a very good winger, and he can play off the left and he can play off the right, and he's effective at both. I really like Iliman Jai at Everton. Then we've got the next player, Grealish, who's had a loan spell at Everton so far this season. He is now injured though, and I think does the job as fair for Jack Grealish. I don't think he's as threatening as a player like Jai, and once again he's just a bit inconsistent in his performances. He started the season off really well, but then he did tail off, and then he of course got that injury, and previously at Manchester City he was really struggling to even get in the match day squad. Then we've got the next player, which is Dwight McNeil, and I do need more from McNeil. Do I see this happening? Probably not. I think this is sort of Dwight McNeil's level. He can do a decent shift for a couple of Premier League sides, but more the sides down the bottom end of the table, and he's a bit of an old school sort of 4-4-2 winger is Dwight McNeil. Then we've got Tyreek George, and I'm going to put Tyreek George in champ. I think instead of a loan move to Everton, he probably should have got a loan move to the Championship because I'm not sure if he's quite ready to play at Premier League level yet. He will be, though, at some point in his career. I've got no doubt about that. So then we're on to Manchester City, and we've got quite a few good wingers to discuss. Starting off with Ryan Cherky, I'm going to put Cherky in quality. He is just a quality player. Is Cherky. He can play in the 10 and also off the right, and he's very two-footed. Is Cherky. What a talent he is. Then we've got Savinho, a player that a lot of people were excited about when he joined Manchester City, and he hasn't really offered what they were looking for, and I think does the job as fair for Savinho, but they need better than a player like this, and I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves in the summer. Then we've got a hugely talented player in Phil Foden, and he should be in top drawer based off the talent of the player. But for now, I think I'm only going to put him in quality. I wouldn't look at putting a player like Foden does the job, because he's proven at City he is better than this. But he has struggled in the last couple of years, and he needs to improve quickly. If he just has sort of one good year, then he would 100% be in top drawer, because we know the quality of a player like Foden, but for now he goes into quality. Then we've got Jeremy Doku, a player that looks really good for Manchester City at the start of the season. Then he got injured, and what was improving about Doku was his end product, and he's proving to be a quality player for Manchester City. So that is where I'm going to put Jeremy Doku. Then we've got Antoine Semenyo, and at the start of the season when he was at Bournemouth, you're probably looking at a does the job winger, just a decent Premier League winger. But I think he's proven he's actually a top draw winger. I don't think this is going to change with Antoine Semenyo. I think this is here to stay. These are the sort of performances we're going to see next season and also seasons to come. So I think putting Semenyo in top drawer is fair. He's two-footed, he's physical, he's quick, he's a good finisher. He's just got all the qualities you want from a winger. Then we're on to the next club where I'm going to be discussing, which is Brighton. And we're starting off with Diego Gomez, a player that's started quite a few games for Brighton so far this season. He's definitely a talent, but right now I'm going to put Diego Gomez in needs more. Then we've got Yankube Minte. I like Minte. He's once again a talented player. He's shown he's got quality, and I'm going to put Minte in does the job. And that's the same with Mitoma. Mitoma's also going and does the job. He's proven he can be a very good Premier League winger in a couple of seasons, but he hasn't managed to do it consistently. And for that reason, he's only going and does the job. If he didn't have his injury setbacks, we're probably looking at a quality winger. So then we've got the next Brighton player, and he's just a bit forgotten, I think, and that is Solly March. Unfortunately, injuries have affected him recently. He's coming back after 11th month injury right now, but I think for now I'm going to have to put March in needs more. Clearly a good player from what we saw previously before the injury, but right now you need more from Solly March than what he's offered in the last couple of years, as he hasn't really featured at all for Brighton. Then we're moving on to Forest, and first of all we've got James McAtee, and unfortunately I'm going to have to put him in champ because he's really struggled for minutes so far this season in the Premier League in a struggling Forest side. And the other reason is because I don't really rate many of these Forest wingers. For example, Dan Ndoye, I'm going to put Dan Ndoye in D. He hasn't really done enough so far this season. I think there is still a player in Dan Ndoye. There's a reason he did well for Bologna. So I'm not going to be too harsh and consider like championship for him. Then we've got Amari Hutchinson, and I'm going to put Amari Hutchinson in need more as well. I think that's fair for him. And for Hudson-Odoi, I'm going to put him in does the job. I just think he's an alright Premier League winger, but nothing special. Then we're moving on to Aston Villa, and starting off with Emi Buendia, and I think he's proven so far this season he can do a decent job in the Premier League. So for Buendia, I'm going to put him in does the job. He was a crucial reason why Villa started that winning run, which they went on sort of midway through the season. Then we've got Morgan Rogers. I'm putting Rogers straight away in top drawer. An amazing ball carrier is Morgan Rogers, and I really like Rogers as a winger. He can also play in the 10 in the Unai Emery system, and I could have argued he's a left winger or a 10 for Rodgers. I think in Villa's best lineup, though, he does play as a left winger because Yuri Tielemans sort of plays further forward in a more advanced midfield position. I just love Morgan Rodgers. I think he's absolutely quality. Then we've got Jadon Sancho. I'm still going to put Jadon Sancho and need more. I think that's fair for Sancho. He's actually been alright so far this season at Aston Villa, but not enough to push him into does the job. Then we've got Leon Bailey. I'm going to put Leon Bailey in does the job. I think that sums up Bailey. Once again, just a decent Premier League winger. So then we're on to Spurs, and the first winger I'm going to discuss is Mo Kudus. I think he's just a decent Premier League winger. I think people overrate him at times. Wouldn't say he's a quality player, and he does show some inconsistency at times. For example, at West Ham, he wasn't the most consistent player at all. And Spurs, he started well. Obviously, he's had this injury now, but I wasn't convinced he was going to do that for the whole season. He was starting to drop off before the injury was Kudus, so I think does the job is fair for him. And then we've got Odobert. I'm going to put him in need more. I think you still need more from a player like Odobert. At least he does show some fight, though, that a lot of Spurs players aren't showing right now. Then we've got Leeds, and the first one I'm going to discuss is Dan James. He is just a championship player. And the other player is Wilfred Gnonto. And once again, he's just a championship player. And the other player is Dan James. And once again, I just think he's a champ player, so I'm going to put him in that tier. So then we're on to Arsenal, and starting off with Madueke, and I think he is just a does-the-job winger. I think that's what he is. He's just a decent player, but he's nothing better than that right now as Madueke. Then we're on to Bukayo Saka, and look, Saka hasn't had his best year. I think that's fair to say, but he's definitely still a top draw player, so that's where I'm going to be putting Bukayo Saka. I don't even think I really need to explain that one. Then we've got Martinelli. I'm going to put Martinelli in does the job. I think in a different system, maybe more counter-attacking system, Martinelli would excel more, but in this Arsenal system he has struggled. I think that is fair for Martinelli. And Trossard, I also think he's just a does the job player. He's just a decent player, is a Trossard. I would say though he's higher up on this does the job tier. He offers a very good threat off the bench. So then we're on to Sunderland, and starting off with Traore, and I'll put Traore in champ. I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League right now. So then we've got Talby. I'm going to put Talby in need more. I like what I've seen from Talby so far, but you need more than what he's showing to play at Premier League level. But he's a very young player, so I wouldn't be surprised if he at least gets into the does the job tier in the future. And then we've got Nilson and Golo. I'm going to put Nilson and Golo in need more. I honestly just haven't seen enough of him so far to fully rate him, so I think that's fair for him. With Sunderland, Enzo Lafayette spent a lot of the time out wide this season, but I haven't considered him a winger, and he'll be in the midfield ranking for this, so I think that's fair for him. And a player like Enzo Lafayette has been crucial for Sunderland this season out wide. So the ranking would definitely be higher overall if he was in the list. Then we're on to Liverpool, and this is going to be quite difficult. Starting off with Mo Salah, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but unfortunately, he's going to have to just go in the does the job tier, because I actually think Salah is now probably at the level he's going to be at for the rest of his career. I can't really see him sort of turning this around and all of a sudden being a quality player or a top draw player, despite him being at this level for so long. So I actually think does the job is fair for Salah. I think Slot is definitely slightly at fault for this, but I also think Salah has just completely dropped off this season, and I don't think it's just because of Slot or it's just because he's low on confidence. I think this is about the player he is now. I would still love to see Salah back at sort of the quality level, but I just can't see it right now. So then we've got Cody Gakpo, and I'm going to put Cody Gakpo and does the job. A player that's been under a lot of criticism so far this season. And look, Gakpo hasn't been good at all. At points, he's been absolutely awful, but he's better than what he's shown so far. And last year, Gakpo was one of Liverpool's better players, so I think does the job is fair. And last year, Gakpo was one of the better wingers in the league. Do I think this is his level? Probably not. But I still think does the job is fair for a player like Gakpo. Then we've got Rio Ingamoa, and for Rio, I'm either looking at does the job or needs more. And the reason why I'm probably going to go with needs more is because he just hasn't played enough minutes so far this season. If Rio played more minutes, then I think he's probably a does the job winger because he's a clear talent, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if in the future we're looking at a top draw Premier League winger, and he should have played more games this season ahead of Cody Gakpo. Then we're on to Crystal Palace, starting off with Brennan Johnson. And I think Brennan Johnson is just a decent Premier League winger. I think this sums him up. He doesn't do anything that special, but he does contribute with goals and assists. Then we've got the next player, which is Gesson. I'm going to put Gesson in need more. I'm starting to like what I see from him. I thought there was almost no hope for this player after watching him at Aston Villa, but I'm starting to see it, and I think he's starting to show he is a decent player, is a Gessons. Then we're on to the next player, which is Yeremy Pino. Once again, need more for Yeremy Pino. He's not been terrible, but he's also not been good enough so far this season for Crystal Palace. And then we've got Sarr. I'm putting Sarr in does the job. I think that's fair for a player like Ismail Sarr. And I do rate Sarr highly. I think he offers a lot to that Palace system. Then we're on to Manchester United. And starting off with Patrick Dorgu. I think Dorgu in sort of a 4-4-2 system as sort of a winger, is we're looking at a does the job player right now. I think we saw under Carrick, even as just an out and out winger, he can do a good job as a winger, and that's why I've decided to pick him as a winger over the fullback. Then we've got Amad Diallo, and he's a player that's played not a lot of minutes so far on the wing, but he is just a winger, and the reason why is because he was playing as a wing back in the Amram system. And I'm actually going to put Diallo in quality. I think if Diallo played a full season as a winger so far, we would be talking about a quality Premier League player, and I think he's really good, Amad Diallo, and I think he deserves to go in quality. Then we've got Brian and Mbeumo, one of the best wingers in the league, and he's going straight into top draw, is Brian and Mbeumo, been really good for Manchester United so far. Then we're on to Bournemouth. I'm going to put needs more for Marcus Tavernier. I don't think he's quite a decent Premier League winger, but he does offer a decent option off the bench. Then we've got David Brooks, and I think he's probably just a very good Championship player. I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League. And I think I would say the same for Ben Doak, a very positive player, a winger I really like in Doak. But right now, I think he's probably just a top Championship player. But I would be surprised if he's not a Premier League player in the future. Then we've got Ryan, and despite Ryan not playing a lot of minutes so far, I think he's already a quality Premier League player. I think he's already that good, and I think he's a great pickup from Bournemouth, and I think he's their next 70, 80 million pound player. He looks very positive, and he's just offered a great threat down that right-hand side as a replacement for Antoine Semenyo so far. Then we're on to Adley at Bournemouth. I'm going to put needs more. I think you do need more from a player like Adley. I'm finally going to be discussing Brentford because Wolves don't have any players that play as wingers. So starting off with Carvalho, I'm going to put Carvalho in needs more. I definitely think he can play in the Premier League, but you still need more from Carvalho. Then we've got Reece Nelson. I think Nelson is just a Championship player. And for Dango Atara, I'm going to put Dango Atara in does the job. I like what I see from Atara. And same with Kevin Schade, two players that just do the job for Brentford. Schade I was close to putting in quality, but I just need to see another season like this because he could be another sort of a Langus type player where he's very quick, he's very threatening. But is he good enough to play for sort of a top side? So here is the final ranking for every Premier League player, and I'm just going to scroll down and show you them all. So starting off with the top players, and in the top draw we've got the likes of Palmer, Semenyo, Rogers, Saka, and Brian and Mbeumo, and then we're down to some of the bottom tiers, so the need more, so the champ tier. And a lot of these champ players are definitely talented. They're just not good enough right now to play in the Premier League. Let me know your thoughts on this ranking. What changes would you make? And if you enjoy this, subscribe to the channel as well as liking the video.